New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
What's going on? This is Jay Ellis from the Nick of Time Show. Here to give you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time. And guess what, guys? We are back to talk some Knicks. And I'm calling this one Knicks for Clicks or Legit. We're going to talk about all the Knicks news and rumors that are hitting the New York Knicks YouTube, Twitter, streets. And we're going to talk about it all and talk about what's real and what's not. But before we talk about it, you already know I'm going to introduce you to the band. First and foremost, it is the best mod in the game, Mr. NBA Economy himself, who put out a pretty good video on Jaren Jackson Jr. So shout out to my guy, Fritz Alessandor. What's going on, Fritz?
Hey, what's going on? We're going to talk about what's real, what's fake.
Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's break it down.
We're going to separate where the pods, you know what I mean? A lot of pods been faking out here, like.
Listen, man, I'm not calling out no pods, but I'm just saying, just watch out for the news, man. Just watch out for the news. All right, that's all I got to say. Of course, you already know it is the man, the myth, the legend, the guy, the scats, and the facts.
Ryan G's in the building. Glad to be back to talk some Knicks basketball. Knicks for Clicks. Let's go.
Yeah. And you already know it is the Latin assassin, ESPN contributor, Bleacher Report contributor, my man, Lee Escobedo.
Rest in peace, journalism. From the year 1900 to the year 2025, it's officially dead because anyone can be a journalist, anyone can publish a news, and everyone has sources. I'm ready to talk about them.
Sauces. So we're going to bust down these sauces. All right, let's get saucing. We're gonna start off with some big sauce news that's been hitting Knicks Twitter streets, and as you guys know, the Memphis Grizzlies, they're making some moves out there in the NBA. They just traded one of their young pieces for 4 first-round picks, and when you trade a young piece, people start to go, what's next? What does that mean for John Morant? What does that mean for Jaren Jackson Jr.? And as you see, the next bit of news hit that stated this. The New York Knicks reportedly view Jaren Jackson Jr. and Karl Anthony Towns as a dream pairing. Sources familiar with the situation tell Clutch Points that at least one key member of the Knicks front office has long been interested in Jackson Jr. as a trade target. The Knicks' acquisition of Karl Anthony Towns last offseason didn't nullify the interest. Either league sources say that a Jackson Jr. and Karl Anthony Towns front court would be a dream pairing for New York in their starting lineup. Things that make you go, Now, first and foremost, I'm going to tell y'all something that I might not know. I've had a run-in with Clutch Points back in the day. I've had a run-in with Clutch Points back in the day. Not a pleasant run-in. But I had a run-in with them. Back when KOT first started their blog, we had a lot of traction. Like I said, we were one of the blogs out there that was doing pretty well, that was new. And they approached me to say, hey, we should work together with KOT. And I was excited. I'm just starting out. I'm just like, oh, wow, they want to work with me. And it's like, oh, yeah, we just need to see your metrics to see how you're getting your traffic and da-da-da-da-da. So like a dummy, I sent them all how I was getting my traffic and da-da-da-da. And then they ghosted me. So then I realized, oh, Clutch Points. Cool. They just wanted to see how I was getting my traffic so they can replicate it for their own stuff and ghost me. Shows you how reputable Clutch Points is. News is from Clutch Points, mind you. So yeah, I had my own personal run-in with Clutch Points back in the day. Shout out to Clutch Points. Not really. All right. But To me, that's the first red flag. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But guys, I want to get your thoughts on this Jaren Jackson Jr. news. Do you feel like it's real or fake? What are you thinking, Lee?
Going to Clutch Points for your basketball insider news and reporting is like going to the Dollar Tree to buy your groceries and clothing. It is the bottom barrel of journalism with a lowercase j. It's a reason it's not on my resume, because they hire any intern or college kid right out of a 4-year degree. They give them website access and a login password and pretty much give them carte blanche to post whatever bullshit they want, because you don't need to cite sources, which is a cornerstone of journalism integrity, is to having a source that provides retention, but also significance to what it is you're reporting. I got it from X, and X is in this institution or has this level of access. When all sources are sources and unnamed, you denigrate the very thing you're supposed to be representing. Again, it is like going to buy your nutritious food and your well-made clothes at the dollar store. Clutch Points, again, is a pure aggregation website. They write inflammatory, controversial, intense headlines in order for nits and clits to continue to be trafficked across the NBA media landscape. And really, it's where bozos go to try to have a hashtag or a handle in their Twitter bio. And you see it now across not just the NBA verse, but Knicks verse on Twitter as well. So again, if you're okay eating food from bought at dollar store and wearing clothes bought at the dollar store, then by all means, subscribe, click, like, and share Clutch Points Twitter handle and all of their stories.
What you thinking, Ryan?
Well, only trust a few sources when it comes to the Knicks, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Ian Begley say anything about that?
No, he did not. He did not.
Did Sham say anything about that?
Shams did not drop a bomb. Nah, I didn't see any.
So for me, it's like if the main sources of the Knicks where when they come out with news, you could trust those sources. If they didn't mention anything about that news about the Knicks being interested in Jaren Jackson, more than likely I'm not gonna believe it, because it's not coming from reputable sources. And like Lee said, Clutch Point's not really a source that you can trust like that, because their whole thing is to drive traffic to the website. So they're gonna make outrageous headlines or whatever the case may be just to drive that traffic. So to me, I don't see anything within that rumor, and for me, I don't believe it. If it's not coming from Ian, if it's not coming from Shams, if it's not coming from Bondi, anybody like that that has at least some type of sources within the Knicks, I'm not believing it.
Yeah, I agree. And even like sometimes Ian will post something the day after and be like, as somebody else says, da 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 da. Then I'm like, okay, Ian agrees with you, and he's citing his source. But when he stays quiet, you already know. It's like, this ain't it. Now, Fritz, mathematically, I want you kind of to break down why you feel like this Jaren Jackson move is crazy.
I think I think a lot of what's being written is projection. Like, people are projecting their thoughts on this situation instead of taking the facts and giving the facts to the fans. I think a lot of people like Jaren Jackson. He's a good player, defensive player of the year. Why wouldn't you like Jaren Jackson? But the fact is, the Knicks haven't commented on it. The Knicks have always liked Jaren Jackson, but there's a lot of financial reasons why Memphis looks like they are clearing room to re-sign him. So if it looks like they're gonna clear room to re-sign him, I don't really see anything there. There's no there.
There is no there. What would you think it would take to sign Jaren Jackson Jr. if he had a shot?
Not this year. I don't think they're not motivated to trade him. Not right now. If they were motivated to trade him, I think people would be upset what it would cost.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the guy that young, who's a two-way player, multiple picks, multiple picks, and his extension hasn't even clicked in yet. Am I correct?
No.
So
And
it's
that- and
like
that-
the
that's the big
chances
issue.
of trading a guy whose extension hasn't kicked in yet is kind of low. Usually teams would at least give him the extension first and lock him in for a few more years. So don't believe this Jaren Jackson Jr. hype. The only thing that might have been true in that whole statement was the Knicks like Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, I oh no, you go ahead, Lee.
I would say I just checked my email. I just got hired by Clutch Points, and I can now report that the Knicks are interested in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and will absolutely answer a call from Sam Presti if he inquires at their availability on a trade, potentially. According to sources, it looks like my overnight custodian at MSG just texted me that. So shout out Clutch Points. Appreciate being on board, baby. I know y'all don't pay anybody and you basically all work for free pro bono, but I appreciate being able to put that in my Twitter bio. Man, shout out Clutch Points, baby. Shout out.
There you got it. Breaking news. Knicks are interested in SGA. All right. Can you imagine the pairing? SGA.
Wow.
It's the perfect pairing.
That would be crazy. And the fact that this came out when the finals are still going is even more crazy.
I know. Crazy, right? The OKC traded SGA in the middle of the finals run.
That would be wild, yo. Can you imagine? Game six is coming up, and all of a sudden the news comes out. Oh, OKC traded SGA to the Knicks. Like, what the hell?
This is what happened.
We
Man.
did.
You only get it here on KLT first, man. You only get it here. All right.
I do want to like what I've seen with people's proposals, like really ridiculous, and I'm just gonna put the logic for kind of the financials. Is he's getting paid very low. He's kind of in the situation that Mikal Bridges is in, so he's getting paid really low, and he's awaiting an extension. But Memphis is in a unique situation. The summer is they have a whole bunch of cap space coming in next year. So instead of waiting for the year after the Knicks' extension is, they're like, okay, we'll start paying you early. We're going to extend you from about 25 million to 36 this year. And then the year after, we're going to kick it up. We're going to kick it up to 40 or 50. And then that's great. Some people have thought, the Memphis Grizzlies don't love him like that. And if they don't love him like that, that they would trade him to us for Mikal Bridges, who's on a low contract, who also needs to go from a small salary to a big salary. And like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you're not going to do the same thing all over with the same player when you just had Desmond Bane.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah, the Desmond Bane trade just got everybody thinking crazy. Just got everybody thinking crazy. But I agree, Fritz. I feel like more likely than not, Desmond Bane trade is to free up money to sign the other people.
Yeah. The only way, like, the only way I could see it is he goes to Memphis and says, "Hey, I don't want the big, I don't want the more money this year. I'm going for Supermax next year. Supermax or bust next year. And if I get Supermax, I expect it." That's the only way I can see them say, double take. And then that's a whole conversation. I don't think it automatically makes them trade, but that's something that could make them pause.
Right.
But I don't think that in itself would make them deal. Many
of these Gen Z Twitter Knit fans, their brain is so rotted from TikTok and the digesting their computer screens and their phone screens that their ADD is so severe that every time they see someone being traded with another team, also their hindsight is so small. They've only been watching basketball for a handful of years because of their age. that when they see a trade, their mind automatically goes toward aggregation, worst case scenario, catastrophizing. If one player is being traded, it must mean it's a fire sale because they don't hold context. For the last 20 years of modernity, the last 40 years in the NBA, with transactions between the main wave of teams with team building, just because the Memphis trade Bane doesn't mean that there's a larger scheme at play to trade off the entire roster. If you think about Memphis specifically, they have so far been buyers, not sellers in the market. They tried to add Marcus Smart here. They sold Tyus Jones to the Wizards there. They tried to make these small marginal moves around the bench to improve. That now they're trying to hit another level because of the failures, severity of it. Taylor Jenkins was fired, so now they have a new coach. But then the Nets' subsequent move would not be to do a fire sale right after firing a coach. The Nets' subsequent move would be moving one of the core pieces to see what kind of different look other guys can give you. So they went out and got a championship level player in KCP and some draft capital to make a bigger move down the line. This is how normal small market teams operate in modernity in the last 25 years. This was the first time Memphis became a buyer, a real buyer on the market. As well as a seller at the same time. So that's important. That context is very important when forecasting because your mind shouldn't automatically go toward one player's trade. That means every player is going to be traded. That means everyone on the block is available and teams who are cash strapped or in a first apron or in a second apron. Not every team now becomes a plausible trade candidate. So keep that in mind and just try to read the tea leaves with some level of media literacy. And it's funny, the ones without the lacking the most media literacy are the ones in the media, which just shows why I opened it with a epilogue of journalism is dead.
Really good point, Lee. Really good point about small market teams flipping their assets to try to get another asset, especially considering they got 4 first-round picks for Bane. That's a lot. And some people would say that, a lot of those picks were also to take on KCP's contract. But hey, if he gets back to where he was, and you have 4 picks, then you look really smart. Yep. If you're saying, oh, he just had a down year and he'll be better here, and then you flip those picks to another player, then you're like, okay, now I have a 3-and-D guy who's a championship guy, and I have 4 picks to flip something and of something for something of need. And you already know Memphis, no one's going to be a free agent going to Memphis. You got to make trades. So
correct.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't even think that Memphis blowing it up even makes sense to begin with because they already have a potential superstar, unless you consider him a superstar already in Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., the 2 guys they added, like KCP, basically is a replacement for Bane in the lineup. They play the same position pretty much. And then you have Cole Anthony coming in who's going to strengthen the bench. So to me, it's not even a move where it's like, I think they get worse in a way. I think it's a move that, although you lose a good player in Bane, you still can manage with the guys that you got coming from that trade. And like you say, you got 4 picks coming in as well, where if you want to make a bigger move down the line, you can use those picks, to complete whatever trade you want to make. So to me, it's like, it's not like the Grizzlies like made the team get worse in any way, or whatever the case may be. They just made a move that gives them a bit more flexibility for a bigger move in the future.
And if you think about the player archetype that was traded, it was a wing. It wasn't Ja Morant. It wasn't Jaren Jackson Jr., which undoubtedly those are the cornerstone pieces of the franchise. It was a 3rd best player on the roster in Desmond Bane, and the player where there's the most depth behind it to possibly get someone with an equal ceiling if given the usage rate, the minutes, and the role. Guys like Jalen Wells, who's also a wing who could possibly step into that, or Brandon Clark, or Gigi Jackson. Guys that when we had that conversation about making trade possibly in Memphis, I extolled how much depth they have on that roster at the position of wing specifically. So it makes sense if there's one of these 3 archetypes we're going to trade, it's going to be the one that we have depth behind him that are on rookie scale deals, some of them very late first-round rookie scale deals that we can integrate into the starting lineup if KCP doesn't work out. It's like just have some level of media literacy before you go off the rails and start saying that just because one guy is traded, now it's a fire sale in Memphis.
Yeah, Gigi Jackson hardly got any minutes last year. And the year before, he was, in that injured filled year, he was kind of the guy. So like there's plenty of players who can fill in those minutes like adequately, and they can grow. Like you can you can create more value. So
All good
this is a good
points.
thing for them.
Nah, all great points. All great points. So I think unanimously we all going Knicks for clicks on this one. I'm guessing.
100%.
Yes.
Dollar store clicks.
Yeah, Knicks for clicks. Here's another one. This one might be a little bit trickier one. All right. We all know that Jason Kidd has been in and out of the Knicks news for the last several weeks. He's been on the radar. He's been off the radar. Knicks have been publicly ridiculed by different by Shams actually. Publicly ridiculed about Shams actually, who let it be known that the Knicks have been hung up on by different teams when they've been calling to ask for permission to talk to different coaches. One of those teams has been Jason Kidd, who the Knicks were impressed with when they interviewed him for the head coaching job before he ended up with Dallas. Now, recently, Ian Begley has reported the door is not completely closed on the Knicks, and Jason Kidd, per persons familiar with the dynamic in Dallas, yeah, I'm sorry, I read that correctly. I read that incorrectly. The door is not completely closed on the Knicks and Jason Kidd is what's being reported by Ian Begley. So I want to ask you guys, is this Knicks for clicks? Or is this legit?
Well, me personally, I do think there's some smoke there. I just think from the standpoint of Jason Kidd is probably looking at the situation being like, okay, he's looking at the Knicks and he's like, all right, you got Brunson there that he coached them when he was in Dallas. And I'm thinking that Jason Kidd's looking at it like, you know what? Dallas is a winning situation because once Anthony Davis comes back healthy, Kyrie come back healthy, you bring in Cooper Flag, you're going to have a winning situation in Dallas. But you also have a winning situation in New York where it's like, you know, you do have a player that you're familiar with and you know, with it being in the East, you probably would have an easier time going through the East, getting to a possible finals berth as opposed to going through the West where the West is tougher. So Jason Kidd is probably using that to his advantage. Is probably be like, you know what? The Knicks is a good situation. I'm in a good situation right now in Dallas. Let me see how much Dallas loves me. So Jason Kidd is dangling the Knicks right now, and he's like, you know what? The Knicks are a good situation right now. Are you going to pay me more money? Because if not, I have no problem going to the Knicks because the Knicks is a good situation as well. So I think Jason Kidd is looking at it as, you know what? It's a win-win. Like I can stay in Dallas. They pay me more money. I'm good, but I can also go to the Knicks where I'm already familiar with their star player and it's a winning situation as well. So I think that's how Jason Kidd is like viewing it at the moment. Like I think he's using the Knicks as leverage, but at the same time, I think it's a legit threat where he's like, you know what? If y'all not gonna show me the love I'm looking for, I have no problem going to the Knicks for real.
Yeah, this is a great example of a difference of integrity, experience, and reputation between Ian Begley and whatever nerdy intern is working for Clutch Points this week. Is that Ian Begley actually has sources and has proven that he has sources throughout the over 10 plus years he's a very well respected person who's brought on other respected platforms to share his opinion and his point of view on the Knicks. He's also someone who has had some backdoor channels with the Mavs. He's reported on some of the Mavs rumblings and maneuvers in the last 2 years, which means he has some contacts in the organization over time, which makes sense. The Knicks have done a lot of business with the Mavs, so I'm sure he's connected with some fellow colleagues here in Dallas. Maybe it's a Tim McMahon or a Bart Stein, or Brad Townsend to get some insider information. So I believe him when they say that there's still smoke, even though, as ever on the KOT Substat, I am no fan of Jason Kidd. Try to give up my reasons why I think so. But there's a lot of interesting things happening in Dallas right now. A lot of the Mavs assistant coaches are being interviewed and potentially poached to other teams. The Shamgod, shout out Shamgod, New York playground legend, as well.
Yo, bring him on the Knicks. The culture, please. Yo, World Wide Web, get on it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Especially because all of our wings need better ball handling. I would love to see him work with Bridges, Hart, and OG for sure to increase their ball handling skills.
God, Mitch, come on, Ryan.
Yo, if OG busts a Sham guy in the game, I would go crazy.
Oh my God.
I would just want Mikal Bridges just to be able to do a crossover, man. I don't even need a Shamdod, bro. Just do a crossover without burning the ball over, for real. Sean Sweeney and Jared Dudley are also been mentioned in rumors by Mart Stein, who is probably the most reputable Dallas reporter, the equivalent of Ian Bedley in New York. All those coaches have been interviewed for other teams, possibly joining the Spurs, some other ones joining other Western Conference rivals. So it looks like that coaching staff in general could look very different around Jason Kidd next year. Kidd has no control over that. That's Nito granting permission. That's the other player, the assistant coach choosing to go somewhere else. So he might be like, let me start looking out for myself as well before I'm here with guys who are looking to replace me. They're not my right-hand guys because he brought Dudley with him from LA. Sean Sweeney was a close confidant to him behind the scenes. This was his bench. If it's no longer his bench, he has incentive. Key word, incentive is very important to tea leaves to look at for why players might do something or teams might do something. Think about the incentives. And that would make, to me, Jason Kidd incentivized to take the New York job. He got signed to an extension last year, as reported by The Athletic. The number was very ambiguous. I was able to find out it was 4 years, which means he has 3 more years on his contract. But they're saying the reason he might leave, he's looking for an extension. That means he wants to be trying to be locked in Dallas all the way past 2030. Not many, you don't see that happen very often in the NBA. It's because he already has 3 years guaranteed right now. So a second contract, that would make him the head coach of Dallas for the foreseeable future and most of Cooper Flagg's prime here in DFW. So you don't see that happen very often. So that's an extreme ask that Kidd is making. Again, you have to infer this with a certain level of media literacy. It could be possible, but that would mean that Jason Kidd's using leverage, and he really wants to be in New York.
What you thinking, Fritz?
Yeah, I like that Begley in his wording shown that thought came from him. That thought didn't come from elsewhere. I think other people's writing, they try to make it seem like they have some kind of ear to the street. Like he is just thinking of what's possible. He's just not closing the door. That's his thought. He hasn't heard anything official. I think Jason Kidd is going to milk it for all it's worth. Like, this is his time. Billy Donovan has taken a Knicks call and he's turned it into millions. I think he's willing to do the same thing, and he could make it very difficult for Dallas to make Dallas feel a certain way about keeping him, and that it hasn't closed his door. Dallas may have a certain feeling now, but if you let somebody know that your heart isn't in it, maybe they let you go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Listen, the Knicks and Dallas don't have the best optic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We got Jalen Brunson from them for free. It's kind of safe to say now, I think we won the KP trade. You know, I feel like us getting Jason Kidd in a New York uniform is a blow to not only the organization but like their ego, because of how they looked with their dealings with us in the past, and I think Jason Kidd knows that. So I feel like there's a lot of posturing happening with the news that's coming out. They want to make it be known the Dallas Mavericks absolutely slammed the door on the Knicks and tell them hell no. And then Jason Kidd, knowing the leverage, goes, I can make this even more in my favor with the leverage and keep feeding the Knicks little tea leaves to contradict what they're saying and make you look dumber.
Yeah, that was the slowest phone slam ever, because it took like a week and a half. I think there probably was a discussion, and then after all of it was done, you can't look like a punk. Like Dallas, they already lost to us. They can't look like a punk again. Talked about slamming the phone, whatever makes you feel good. But we absolutely knew you had to consider something.
Right, for real. And is Jason Kidd probably using us for leverage? Maybe. Possibly, for sure. So I mean, technically, I guess it's not Knicks for clicks because Ian doesn't know if he's using us for leverage or not wholeheartedly, which is why he used the words he used, where he says the door isn't closed. He didn't say that it was happening. He didn't say it wasn't happening. He didn't say it was happening. He said the door isn't closed. So it kind of leaves some gray area for interpretation there. So. I technically no Knicks for clicks. I'm not gonna really. Even Begley in general, I'm not gonna really say Knicks for clicks. Gold standard for me anyway.
Yeah, Begley, if you want to come on and clarify that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, there.
Yes, sir.
Please, Begley, come on and clarify that. All right. I know you're busy, but all right. Oh, we got some super chats who want to chime in. Shout out to Parish Duggar, who sends a $10 super chat, says, I'm begging our Knicks family to stop giving national media LOL Knicks stuff like we look clueless by firing Tibbs, Brunson ball hog, Cat and Bridges attacks. We were a top 3 team, so act like it. Exclamation point, exclamation point. I agree. I agree with a lot of the mob mentality type of angry takes that be happening. And I'm not saying you don't criticize the team. I'm not saying all of that, but I do feel like big moments where we get a little bit over the top sometimes. I'm not gonna hold you. Especially when we're in the middle of a playoff run. It gets kind of crazy. So, I halfway agree with that. Now when the season's over and it's all said and done, get your stuff off. All right. Get your stuff off. All right. We got another super chat who says Parish Duggar since the $2 super chat says Leon knows we got sabotaged if he showed his hands. We get sabotaged if he showed his hand. I mean, yeah, that's why a lot of his moves end up being real secretive. So I get it. He also sends another $2 super chat. Shout out to Parish. They gotta let Kid go if he won't do his best job. They gotta let Kid. Oh, he's saying Dallas has to let Kid go if they don't do his best job. Yeah, it'll probably be after this season if they deem that is not his best job. I can't imagine he won't do his best job with Kyrie and AD there. I think the problem is, are they gonna be healthy? That's really the problem. Speaking of coaches, there has been some coaching news. Shout out to Ian Begley, who's also reported that the Knicks are interested in Taylor Jenkins. Hello. Knicks are interested in Taylor Jenkins and also Mike Brown. We will be interviewing those coaches this week. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that, man. What do you guys think of our coaching candidates, Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown?
The great friend of the channel, Raw Hebrew, on his show last week did a great breakdown of defensive metrics, both the defensive point differential as well as net rating between Mike Brown and Mike Brown's 4 stints, Cleveland twice, LA, Sacramento, I believe those are the ones he's coached, and then Taylor Jenkins 5 years in Memphis. And that overall, Mike Brown, no matter what roster he had, was kind of in the middle of the pack defensively in both those 2 metrics, and Taylor Jenkins was like top 5 in both those metrics in his ascending order in his time in Memphis. So I agree with Raw, and I think most people on this channel, shockingly, that defense wins championships, and I'm always defense first. So when I look at those metrics, plus the way that Mike Brown has just always been like, when he gets fired, everyone's like, get the hell out of here. Like they're like completely fed up with him. From the ownership, the front office, to the players, they are so happy he's gone once he's gone. Especially most recently with De'Aaron Fox was like, I don't care if you fire him. Enough damage has been done. I want out of here. And still got trade afterwards. So I like the idea of Taylor Jenkins. Maybe it's because we're both born in the cesspool of Arlington, Texas, and somehow survived. Maybe it's because he's only 40 years old and has a sharp, smart young mind, well respected. Maybe it's because up until a month ago, he was considered one of the top 5 young coaches in the NBA. Yeah. Before he got fired, if you listed who are the top 5 best young coaches in the NBA, his name was a part of it. No matter who else you wanted to include in that conversation, Taylor Jenkins was one of the 5 best. So if you tell me, as someone who just fired, who was the oldest coach in the NBA, that Taylor Jenkins is going to be available, sign me up. I have been doing my due diligence here in Dallas because he is from Dallas, asking around and trying to contact people who have worked with him in any capacity of basketball, and I have been shut down overwhelmingly. And everyone kind of says the same thing. Not allowed to talk about it. I have been told not to talk about it. It's best if I don't talk about it because they don't want to ruin his chances or say something out of turn, which means the Knicks have done their due diligence. they're talking to the same people that I'm trying to talk to. And it is a very tight-lipped scenario. So I am very, very convinced that Taylor Jenkins is very high on their list of who they want to go after, because I've done the same type of thing to almost every candidate that has been nominated or talked about to be interviewed. And I've gotten to chance to talk to some of those people. So this is the first time I reached out to someone that it was a total shutdown. The only one who I haven't is Jason Kidd. I didn't do any background research on him, but every other candidate I have. And I got some source. I got some responses, right? Check out Nick's Substat later on this week or next week for some exclusive interviews. But Taylor Jenkins has been complete and utter, what's the terminology? It's a embargo on any type of conversation about him. So that's very interesting to me as a reporter, that if you have any type of media literacy, you can read the tea leaves and say he's definitely number 1 or number 2 candidate right now.
Nice plug, Lee. If you haven't subscribed to that Substack, definitely should check out all the works that Lee is going to do. So I posted it on the community channel, so definitely subscribe to that. All right. Ryan G, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Well, first and foremost, I'm not going to act like I know a lot about Taylor Jenkins and his coaching style and things of that nature, the X's and O's behind, this thought process in games and things of that nature, because I haven't watched the Grizzlies enough to really get a hold on his coaching style and things of that nature. There's only a few things I really know about him from watching a few Grizzlies games. Number one, this is where he's opposite of Thibs, because when he was in Memphis, he wasn't afraid to play his young guys. So I see him as a coach that if the Knicks were to hire him, he would definitely develop the bench, which means the young guys on the bench would definitely get some playing time and have a chance during the season to develop, which is something that Thibs did not do during his time. So I see that as a positive. The other positive is what Lee said. He is a defensive coach. The way the Knicks want to play basketball, the Knicks want to be a defensive team. That's first and foremost. So the fact that Taylor Jenkins leads with that also makes him a prime candidate for the Knicks as well. I think the only concern I have is that, because I remember when he was fired and I was on social media and I was going through like a lot of like the tweets of like journalists, like the journalists in Memphis, that cover the team, and they were trying to, break down like his firing and why he was fired and things of that nature. And it seems like the general like media consensus was that Taylor Jenkins deserved his firing. And they listed a bunch of reasons as to why he got fired from the Memphis Grizzlies. And I think part of it had to do with like, like sometimes he seemed clueless during games and things of that nature. I don't remember what exactly I read because that was a while ago that happened, but that's my only concern, because it seemed like the media in Memphis were not against his firing. It seemed like they were on board with his firing. So that's the only concern I have. But besides that, if you look at like the basics, like I do like the fact he plays young players. I do like the fact that he's a defensive coach. And to me, I think those are, the top 2 things the Knicks probably need at the moment, like a defensive coach and a guy that is going to play the young guys and develop them. So
Yeah. It seemed like when he got fired, like they were having big losses at that time. And the thing is like during that time, there was injuries happening. One, there was injuries happening. 2, he was kind of forced to like change this offense from a pick and roll centric offense to more of a, off ball cutting type of offense, which is kind of what we actually kind of want here too. Even though we do want pick and roll at some point, more pick and roll than what he was running. But he went away from that to kind of preserve Ja Morant's body. I don't think he's gonna have to do that here because Jalen Brunson is just more durable. So, although some might say he deserved it, I still feel like there was other circumstances to why he got fired and the timing of his firing with the Grizzlies.
Yeah, he's probably a little salty about his firing because they went away from that offense once front office fired most of the assistants and put new assistants in and installed this new offense, which failed. What he was doing was working, but it was detrimental to Ja. That's their cornerstone right now. So, they made changes. The changes didn't work out. At the end of the season, they were they were looking bad. They knew that this wasn't going to work, and I guess they just decided to make a change.
Is Ebony in? Oh.
I was going to say that there was a lot of drama in Memphis, even beyond Taylor Jenkins, that I think you need to add context to the decision making to really understand that not this season, but the season prior, toward the end of that one, the general manager and ownership fired 5 of Taylor Jenkins' assistants. Which, if you think about that, that's a really big number. Like, imagine all of Tibbs's yes men, all those bums on the bench who you don't even know what they do. If all those guys were fired, that would place a lot of pressure on Tom Thibodeau, and it would probably make him feel a little ostracized and was back against the wall. And not only that, then they told Taylor Jenkins, as Fritz alluded to revamp the entire offense, which was a very heavy pick and roll offense. Made sense. You got John Morant and JJJ, 2 guys who can pick and pop, 2 guys who can cut, 2 guys who can shoot. They were very pick and roll heavy. It became very much of a off ball cutting, very little screen setting. I think they finished dead last in the NBA in ball screens. There's a lot of motion and a lot of shooting, which didn't necessarily benefit John Morant's very heavy ISO ball handling style, similar to Jalen Brunson. So I think the season was a huge disappointment, but he was kind of set up to fail because the type of offense that his new assistants had great hand in implementing was undercut by Jenkins not wanting to run that offense and the star player not liking the results of that offense because it took the ball out of his hands and made him more off ball. So it was a combustible situation that led to the firing of Jenkins and the trading of Desmond Bane, all to appease John Morant and JJJ, which again solidifies why this is not a fire sale. This is a soft rebuild and retooling around Ja and JJJ, with now the coach who was majorly responsible for that institution of new offense to then re-implement ball screens and pick and roll offense back into Memphis for John Morant to be more on board. But I think all of that is very important in understanding why Taylor Jenkins was fired. It wasn't like a personality dispute, or he didn't mess up, or it choked, or not have the right rotations, or play someone in a playoff series. He was undercut by behind the scenes with the front office. The writing was on the wall from the moment the season started. Very similar, I think, to what we could be made about why Tibbs was fired.
All great points. Yeah, all great points. So I'm with it. I'm with Taylor Jenkins for sure. Top 5 offense, top 6 defense. I'm with. And then when you subsequently kind of look at Mike Brown, like, he has a 61% win percentage, but then you kind of, I feel like whenever you're coaching LeBron James, I don't really ever know how much credit to give you because LeBron James is pretty much a damn coach on the floor himself. So you're like, all right, cool. Then when you take into account the other stops he goes to, and you say, all right, okay, cool. He doesn't have LeBron James here. How does he feel here? Yeah, then it starts to get a little bit murky. I mean, he did restore the Sacramento Kings from the start of the season, where they made the playoffs in 17 years, and then he got into the playoffs. So you got to mention that. But then, like Lee said, they've been all middle of the road defensive teams his entire career. So, I mean, he has the winning percentage, yes, but I don't know. I still have questions when it comes to Mike Brown for sure, especially the way he's been fired in different stops.
Yes, I know I made fun of Mike Brown a lot, and he's probably the second worst choice that I would say after Mark Jackson. I think Mark Jackson's absolutely the worst choice, and any old head, you know where to find me on Twitter. Please at me. Let's argue. More than happy to do so about why I think Mark Jackson's a horrible option. Number 2 is Mike Brown, but I do want to give Mike Brown some flowers. Mike Brown is an excellent offensive coach. Where he lacks defensively, he has learned and absorbed a lot during his time as a lead assistant for Steve Kerr and Golden State Warriors, and he brought the action that I've talked about, the Tibbs use for Josh Hart, that Kerr uses for Draymond Green, that elbow playmaking action. He turned Domantas Sabonis into the best version of himself offensively as a small ball 5. He moved Sabonis to the 5 and really implemented a heavy DHO offense with him and Fox that at times looked unbeatable until the playoffs. So rotations and adjustments, that's where Mike Brown has always had criticism, is not fully utilizing his roster. There were inconsistencies with Keon Ellis's role in and out of the starting lineup, in and out of the rotation. These are issues that plagued Mike Brown from his entire journey starting with the head coaching job in Cleveland, not using his full roster, not trusting young players. But he is an excellent offensive coach and one of the early purveyors of checking a bunch of threes and shooting a wide a wide volume of threes across the board, 1 through 5. I think he would unlock a lot between Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, which is why I'm an advocate as a potential lead assistant on the bench.
Yeah.
More than happy with that because I think we would fully utilize our entire roster with him offensively.
I agree. Mike as an assistant and kind of leaning into even more of Cat's passing ability, I feel like would do wonders for us. If he wants to take on that type of role, that's totally up to him. I feel like he might have to rebuild his reputation after what's been happening with the Kings. Personally, I don't know if he sees it that way. But that's the way I see it because I feel like that what happened with the Kings kind of made him look crazy. Personally, all right. So I mean, that's not technically a Knicks for Clicks question. I kind of it's been reported that they're being interviewed this week, and it just is what it is. Shout out to Ian Begley for that bit of news. Now for Knicks for Clicks, we're gonna get into some stories, I guess. From ex-Knicks players. All right. First, we can start off with a beloved ex-Knicks player, a guy who I actually wanted on the Knicks this season, the guy responsible for the start of the rebuild, Marcus Morris Sr., man. Marcus Morris Sr. relished in the Tom Thibodeau firing. And I didn't have audio because, when people have video and audio, they seem to get it off. When my channel does stuff, we seem to get copyrighted, so I'd be scared to do stuff like that. Which is why you've seen less and less audio as time's gone by. So I was just trying to make some graphics and read off what Marcus Morris Sr. said. He said, I was supposed to be with the Knicks this year. I had some other calls. I had other teams. They called me from Left Street. And it was like, hey, you want to be here? We want you to be around. We want you to help these guys. We want you to be a leader. Like, you might not play, but we want you here. I get here. I talk to Tibbs, and I kind of get that feel like it's old school. You're going to do it my way. You can't play because X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know how that works, but yeah, I'm happy to be with New York. I don't give a F who's the coach. I don't give a F who's in front of the office, who's in the front office. I'm a Knick, and I like the city, and I like what it brings. He starts off saying that. Then he goes on to say, obviously, the Cat trade happened, which I knew was going to happen before it even happened. And I thought I was sick because, and I said, I'm sorry, this is a little bit weird. They warned him it was going to happen. All right. He said it was like, no matter what you hear, don't even worry about it. You ain't going to play if you're going to play. You ain't going to play if you're here. And then normally Leon Rose, Nick. I'm sorry. It's very crazy getting these the words out here. So pretty much after the Cat trade happens, they go back on their word. They didn't sign him. And now he doesn't have any place to go because he turned down other teams and did not sign with the Knicks. And he's now complaining about it. Now, is this Knicks for clicks or is this legit? Like, I don't know if you guys remember what happened with the Marcus Morris Sr. trade, but
it's key.
I don't think it's Knicks for click. I think it's Knicks for clicks, but I don't think it's on purpose. I don't think it's on purpose because what I remember happening was the Knicks wanted Marcus here. The Cat trade happened. And I think they were taking back players in that trade. And because they were taking back players in that trade, they couldn't guarantee him a roster spot. So what ended up happening was they gave him an Exhibit 9 roster spot where he had to compete to make the roster with Landry Shamet and somebody else I don't remember at the time. And I don't think he took that deal. I think he just thought he was going to make the team, and they didn't take that deal because pretty much the cat trade might have just fumbled it. So I don't know what you guys think. Do you feel like this is a Knicks for clicks situation or no?
I kind of think it just didn't work out. Also, you have to consider that's when Landry's shoulder thing happened, and yeah, so it got real. I don't think everything went as planned. Yeah.
I think that it's real. I don't think it's nits for. I think it's nits for clits the way it was aggregated, and the fact that we're kind of talking about it makes it nits for clits. But I think it's real. Yeah, there's plenty of stories about Leon Rose doing business in a very direct, sometimes harsh, removed from emotion kind of way, where empathy is not a part of the business dealings. It's one of the reasons why I have liked him so far as a president of basketball operations. I like that he was able to fire one of his best friends, Tom Thibodeau, because on this show I said he'll never fire Tibbs. I mean, I thought that friendship was going to be the modus operandi during his tenure here as president of basketball operations. I am glad it was not. I'm glad he had the balls to do that in hindsight. But I do think that he has a reputation for being really harsh when he lets guys go. Again, as I told you, with the three people who have talked to me who know Tibbs' family, all said that the firing was very harsh in the way that Leon Rose talked to Tibbs during that. So I had no reason not to believe that, because it's at the end of the day, it is business. And that message that was produced from MSG, whether it was ChatGPT that wrote that or whoever, there was a line there about singularly focused about winning a basketball championship, which is this is 100% going to be business over any relationship or friendship prior. Again, I think that's a good optics for us as fans to know that our Pobo is able to do things with the touch of a button or pulling of a switch that might end up hurting people and stepping on toes. But I do believe that for all the times we've heard Jeff Teague or Kyle Korver, Joakim Noah talk about Tom Thibodeau, he's a very harsh man when it comes to roles and responsibilities and communication. It's not his forte. And many people have talked about, and Rasheed Wallace as well, about promises that weren't kept in terms of how used they would be in the offense, or someone who's just flat out, you ain't playing. And I think that was what Marcus Morris was, is that Leon brought him in as a locker room guy with the hope that maybe he fills a role in down the line in case of injuries. And Tiz was like, no, not only no, but in some other instances, I want another guy instead of you. I'm sure we'll get to Austin Rivers later. So I believe all of this. I think all of this is true. I think this is who Tom Thibodeau is. I think this is who Leon Rose is. And I'm happy, actually, that this is who Leon Rose is. Because I think it puts the best face forward on how we're going to operate on the business end moving forward.
Anybody else?
Yeah, you know what? Because I'm trying to just put all the pieces together in my head. So I'm just trying to think of the situation the Knicks we're in. You just brought in 4 rookies. Landry Shamet, shoulder injury. We only had 13 roster spots.
Yeah.
When we first started the year. Even though they say 14, we had like a grace period. So that was a lot of roster spots held up by people who just weren't going to play. Tiz wasn't going to play the rookies. So I mean, that was like 5 roster spots. We just flat out was not going to play anybody. So I think I think it's just bad timing, bad circumstances.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan, I don't know if you had anything to add.
I mean, there's no reason for me to not believe the story because I don't know of Marcus Morris being a guy that fabricates stories. He doesn't come off to me as that kind of guy. So from that standpoint, and then knowing how Leon and Thibs does business from their time with the Knicks, there's no reason for me to not believe what Marcus Morris was saying. So for me, I don't think it's Knicks for clicks. I do think that there's some truth to what he said and how it went about when he signed that, deal for the Knicks and competed for a spot and unfortunately didn't get it.
Yeah, for its circumstances, man. I think we wanted to bring him here because of the amount of rookies we had. The cat trade happened, made things a lot more complicated because we need the extra roster spots. So all the promises that we made weren't able to be kept, and they tried to assure him that nothing was going to happen, and they probably shouldn't have done that. I think that was the flaw. I think the flaw really was when the cat trade happened. Oh, don't worry, it's not going to affect you. The cat trade happened, it absolutely affected him, and now he has to compete for a roster spot instead of be given one. So yeah, don't think it's Knicks for clicks per se. I think he absolutely felt everything and all the emotions. They probably shouldn't have told him the cat trade wouldn't. You know, that probably shouldn't have. They shouldn't have told him the cat trade wouldn't affect his spot. They shouldn't have told him that. Because it absolutely did. And I would love him back here if he wants to be back here. If the circumstances are different, I'm not sure if this year is going to be any different. But he always has a spot on the Knicks, man. As a guy who performed well, who put this team on his back as an unlikely hero, and then ultimately got traded, and he netted us Emmanuel quickly, who then netted us OG Anunoby, and so forth and so on. So thank you, Marcus Morris Sr., for your contributions to this Knicks rebuild, man. All right. Going on to some other older ex Knicks. It doesn't get any better. Talking about harsh. Austin Rivers, man. Austin Rivers becomes a Knick. And Lee just talked about how harsh it was when Tibbs got fired. When Austin Rivers first came to the Knicks, his account of him coming to the Knicks is Tibbs went to him and says, "Welcome to the team. I wanted Derek." But happy to have you and hope you work out. Hell of an intro. Then, of course, as you guys already know, Derrick Rose comes to the Knicks. And when that happens, Austin Rivers knows that he is out of it. And he is pissed, all right? He said, "The way they handle business was crazy, bro. They brought me in a dark room. It was Leon, Worldwide West, and Tibbs. They're all sitting there in the dark with a little bit of light, and an interrogation type thingy. And they go, hey, man, hey, we're going to move you. And we just got Derek here until we find a right spot for you. And, you don't have to travel with the team anymore." And he says, "I ended up having to call Tibbs. My effing emasculating ass had to call him and ask him, can I please travel with you guys so I can continue to work on my game and have trainers at my expense? I'll support the guys who are playing ahead of me. I have no problems." They just let me travel with the team, then eventually just traded me. I don't even know where they traded me to. They traded me somewhere that was going to waive me. They traded me someplace that was going to waive me. They didn't do right by me. They traded me to a team that wasn't even going to use me. So that whole thing where they brought me into the room and was like, "Hey, where we going to get you? We're going to get you to a good situation." It was just a lie. And they ended up trading him to OKC, which had a bunch of young players. And the good young players weren't even there yet. And they ended up letting him go. Knicks for clicks or legit?
Again, it's one of those situations where it's like, I don't know if Austin Rivers fabricating stories and things of that nature, and the way it sounds, it does sounds like, something Thibs would do. See a guy coming in and he said that, "You know what? I know that the Knicks signed you as, to be the backup point guard or whatever the case may be, but I would have rather if they brought in this guy. So you know what? I'm just letting you know ahead of time that if we do get this player, you're not gonna have much of a future here and you're gonna be gone." So I mean, knowing how Thibs is, I kind of do believe the story in that manner. And then again, it's like, okay, I get it. You're bitter because the Knicks told you that, yeah, we're going to trade you to a situation where you're going to get playing time, whatever the case may be. But the thing is that what Austin Rivers needs to remember is that it's a business. The Knicks are not obligated to trade you to a team where you're going to be guaranteed playing time. The Knicks owe you nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like for him to hold that against the Knicks, to me, it just sound like a bitter ex, to be honest about it. Because it's like it's a business. Like the Knicks, it's not like you played for the Knicks for like 10 seasons and gave your all for the franchise, and then because of that they have to do right by you and send you to a situation where you're going to get playing time or where you can play for a championship or whatever the case may be. Like you only was with the team for like a couple of months. The Knicks owe you nothing. The Knicks don't have to do right by you. All the Knicks have to do is, okay, we got the guy we wanted. We're going to trade you away to whatever team is going to give us the best deal for you, and then you have to find your footing after that. So I think, does Austin Rivers have a reason to be frustrated? Yes, he does, if that's how it really went down. But at the same time, it's like he shouldn't really hold a grudge against the Knicks because at the end of the day, it's a business. Like things like that happen. A lot of players talk about similar situations and they understand it's a business at the end of the day. So at the end, so for me, it's like Austin Rivers sounds like a bitter ex, but I can understand where his frustrations come from.
I think the important thing to remember with both Austin Rivers and Marcus Morris is that at the time of their frustrations and in their interactions with the Knicks, both of them were absolute bums. Both of them were absolute cooked. Both of them were absolutely past their prime. Let's not act like that we were doing bad business with Giannis or doing bad business with Anthony Edwards. We're doing bad business with two guys, one guy who did not join another team at all, and Marcus Morris, who now is an ESPN filing his grievances for a paycheck. And I love Marcus Morris. Mook is my guy, but let's not act like he wasn't absolutely washed when he was taking a train camp invite with us on a potential two-way. Like, let's be real about who we're talking about, when we're talking about them, where we're talking about them. This is a team, the Knicks, that was competing for a championship. And sorry, Marcus Morris, you weren't willing to be the rah-rah cheerleader, so you got cut and we brought in PJ Washington instead. And with Austin Rivers, we were ass. We were ass. And so was he. So who cares, bro? Austin Rivers was out the NBA in 2 years after that. My boy was shooting civil rights numbers while he was here from the field. 41%. You're upset you got cut? You're shooting 41% from the field, bro. Who do you think you are at this point? You're the son of a head coach. Nepotism is alive. Cronyism is alive. You went to Duke, bro. No one feels bad for you, man. Nobody. Marcus Morris, you had a great NBA career. I'm sorry, man. It's like bitter, old, washed up players saying, I wish the Knicks would treat me better. I wish you would have been better. Wish you would have been a player worth fighting for. Wish you would have been a player worth signing. You weren't. Leon Rose has an eye, man. So far, he's made some mistakes, but those two weren't two of them. So I ain't worried about it, man.
Oh man.
Woo! Chris wanted to say something about.
You know what? That's Doc Rivers' son. You know what? I can't be surprised he's lived a soft life. I mean, he came here to be, he came here as a culture raiser, a vet to lead the young people. He wasn't coming here to ball out. Like he was given like this odd contract, first year guaranteed, other 3 years not guaranteed.
Scott Perry special.
If you were the guy, you would have had a 4-year guarantee. So he should have shot better. We couldn't play him. Like he was unplayable. He had chance after chance after chance. He just didn't get it. We got a guy who get it done. We brought Derrick Rose back because he couldn't get it done. And I think he's bitter, but what has he done since then?
Okay, so I think the Knicks anticipated that he would be pissed, which is why they was like, stay home. I don't know. Maybe they felt the pissed offity because of his minutes, because he wasn't getting consistent minutes when he was here. So maybe they felt like he would be pissed and was like, just stay home so you don't affect the team. We got a young team. We don't need that bad juju. He said, I'm gonna play ball. They said, cool. We're gonna try to get you to a good spot. The problem is, to get you to a good spot, you kind of have to play well. It's harder to get you to a spot if you're not playing well. So it's like you're pissed that you went to OKC, but maybe that was the best case scenario for you because they was gonna cut you and now you can go where you want. Right?
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
Hell yeah. And you know what? They cut him and he went where he wanted to. He got to Denver. He gave him 9 points a game, baby. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about, man. Like Austin Rivers, you showed us up, man. Single digit numbers. Damn, what were we missing? Should have had you in the rotation. Maybe we beat Atlanta in 7 games. Who knows, man? Prayers up to your career. You are one of the Knicks that's in that category of Andre Bargnani, Frank Williams. What could have been, what should have been. But honestly, at the end of the day, no one is remembering you. No one is sending you an invite to the Knicks veteran bench during a playoff game. You would not be back invited to MSG. Yeah, man. I mean, peace out, bro. Enjoy the podcast life. I'm sure it's going well for you. You seem very well adjusted. You seem very happy in your new role. More power to you, man. I wish you the best.
Yo, Lee, you forgot to mention when my guy went to Denver, he was on fire from the field, shooting 41.8% from field goal range. Hall of Fame numbers.
Gunshots.
Can't forget that. Can't forget that part of the story, all right? Gotta tell the whole story, all right? The redemption story of 41% from the field in Denver.
Sometimes being a bum is nature, sometimes it's nurture. In the case of Austin Rivers, the apple doesn't fall too far from a tree.
Damn!
Dad is the most overrated
damn.
bum-ass coach in the 21st century. Been riding that 2008 championship till going to team after team. Every team gets worse when he takes over. Every single team is a contender. Doc Rivers arrives, and now they're bum-ass blown up, and they're back to rebuilding, bro. So listen, man, sometimes genetics are not in your favor. I can say they're not in my favor in some cases, but when it comes to NBA careers, Austin Rivers, my bad, little bro. I'm sorry, man. I mean, take it out with your mama and your papa, you know? Go book a trip to Walgreens, bro.
Yikes. God damn.
Damn, this is like the most brutal roasting I've ever been a part of. Oh my God.
Listen, man. Listen, Ryan's back. He's bringing the analysis. I'm back on my bullshit, bro. It's summertime. It's time to roast these bums.
Oh
man.
my
You know what I mean?
God. So you don't want Doc Rivers here?
Hell no.
Okay, just checking. All right. Oh man. I actually talked about everything I want to talk about, but do you guys want to talk about this KD to the Knicks situation?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't have anything written down about KD and the Knicks. I know Fritz talked about he wanted to talk about it, so I was like, let me bring this up for my guy Fritz. I have ignored the KD to the Knicks thing this entire time. Shams mentioned that the Knicks called to trade for KD and there's mutual interest. That's what he mentioned, right? And it's crazy because although that might be true, I still feel like it's Knicks for clicks from Shams. I still feel like it's Knicks for clicks from Shams, even though that might be true. You know why? Because although there's mutual interest, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Right? I kind of feel like it's like two sets of couples who are married, and it's like the guy is eyeing the woman on the other couple. And it's like, oh, there's mutual interest, but nobody's gonna do shit because they married. It's like, for me to get you over here, I have to throw away everything I love. So you know what? I'm not willing to give up everything I love. I'm not willing to give up Jalen Brunson and Cat and first round picks and all the rookies and half the team just so we can be like Phoenix. I know that the analogy went off the rails, but you get what I'm saying.
I get you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Fritz.
when I look at the situation, it's kind of like when you have a party, and if you don't have anything to do later, you can come on through. We're not we're not throwing you a big old shindig. If you want to come on through, we got a few contracts that we can throw your way. I don't. These other teams are throwing out lottery picks. They're throwing out all kinds of things. The Knicks just aren't with it. And Katie's motivation is suspect. Katie, when he selected his teams, he selected teams, zero sales tax, and the Knicks. The other teams, he wants his golden parachute. He wants someone to get him this year and then give me as much money as you can for the next 2 years, and I'm gonna ride out NBA. I'm gonna ride out the NBA as a rich man. That's not what the Knicks are gonna do. That's not what the Knicks want to do. They do not want to be the golden parachute for KD. They're looking for a championship. If he wants to just get his golden parachute and ride out his NBA career, he could do elsewhere.
No, I've called a lot of people bum tonight. Austin Rivers, bum. Marcus Morris, right now at this very moment, bum. All the little dweebs writing for clutch points, bums. KD is not a bum. I'm not going to sit here and call top 5, 7 score all-time history a bum. This year, he put up buckets. He became one of the best rim protectors in the NBA defensively this year. Showed he still got it as a playmaker this year, but I think he's gotten to a point where he is either the best or second best player on the team and no longer guarantees playoff appearance. We saw that with the Phoenix Suns this year. Now, there's a lot of internal chaos, right? It's a revolving door of coaches and underperforming Devin Booker, a total ass cheats Tyus Jones, who I will call a bum, a total ass cheats Nick Richards, who has been a bum. But none of that was KD's fault, right? KD was fairly healthy, and he produced at an all-star level, in my opinion. But 36 years old and in need of a contract extension that he is going to want to pay because of a New York tax, that is something that I don't think Leon Rose is going to go after, because this is Leon Rose, mentioned this before, was the agent of Eddie Curry, the agent of Andre Bargnani, the agent of Carmelo Anthony. He knows the history of how James Dolan has passed out checks and been, as Fritz said, the golden parachute for 2 damn decades. That really ended with the Scott Perry era, but now continued to end with the Leon Rose era. The ship has sailed. When we wanted you, we weren't the cool person in town. You chose, for some weird reason, the New Jersey Nets, and you went there and you stunted up and you squandered 3 MVP candidates on the same team with Steve Nash as your best friend instead of your head coach. So to me, that ship has sailed. That ship is no longer coming to dock. And that ship, actually, I shot an arrow to it and it burnt down to a crisp into the ocean, because I like the teams we have. $50 million a year. You're talking about OG and Hart. You're talking about Mikal Bridges, Mitch and Hart. You're talking about some combination. Maybe it's just straight up Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm not trading Karl-Anthony Towns in his prime, almost 30 years old, for 36-year-old KD. Hell no. That's not. I didn't say that, and also say Karl-Anthony Towns has many flaws and that KD is a better all-around player. Yes, all those things are true. It's the age. You don't want to shrink your window unnecessarily. And adding KD and swapping him out for our core pieces shrinks the window without necessity. So to me, it's a hell no, but I'm not going to call KD a bum. It's one of the greatest hoopers of all time.
Yeah. And I just want to be wary of, like, it doesn't work with Phoenix. You have KD, you have Devin Booker, and you don't make it to the playoffs. So it's like,
right.
If you're going to gut your team, this guy, he's on a roll today, man. It's like gutting your team for the 2 superstars is not working. It hasn't worked over there. Why would we do the same thing over here? That's all.
I think Katie is very intentional. We see that he's sending his agent ahead to talk to teams because he's trying to set up his next contract. If KD wanted to come to the Knicks, he wants to win, he's gonna have to do something like Gobert did. Gobert, huge salary. He cut his salary for the team to win. I think if he wanted to come to New York and he wanted to do that, maybe the Knicks consider it. But like, if you're just gonna come in here and then you're just gonna eat salary and this is our team for the next 3 years, no, thank you.
Fritz cooked. If he was a free agent, 100% go get KD.
Take that $5.7 million. Exactly.
110% get KD. It's a salary, man. It's $50 million. And you know he's going to want something around 40 to 45 as an extension. You're talking
No,
about
his extension is 60 a year. His
Oh,
extension.
when he's 40, when he's 38, 39? Nah,
Yeah,
man.
it's
I'm
crazy.
sorry, man. That's crazy. That's old Knicks. But I do think I think what has been reported, KD wants us and we don't KD. I think that's real. So far, I think everything's been real. Nothing's actually been Knicks for Klutz, except the clutch points is absolute garbage, been bottom of the barrel journalism. That's something the only Knicks for Klutz that's been happening this episode, oddly enough.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. I threw Shams under the bus a little bit. I put him as a Knicks for Clicks asterisk for his for him implying that we have a chance. I feel like the mutual interest line made it seem like we were going after him again, or that it was a possibility for real. When I really feel like it wasn't a real possibility, which is why I feel like that truth was a Knick for Click, because he didn't really have to mention it.
Jay, who was it that reported there was a trade that was offered at the deadline last year for KD? Some reporter, I can't remember who it was, reported the Knicks made an offer for KD at the deadline.
Yeah, right now, yeah, they did.
I know Scoop for KD at the deadline.
I know. Yeah, I don't think Scoop reported the trade. I think he reported there was interest, but somebody actually reported a trade.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Somebody said there was an actual offer on the table.
Was it clutch points? Let me
call him. It might have been. Yeah, call him up. Please.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who said.
Custodian, real quick from my source.
Yeah. I don't remember who that was. I don't know if you guys in the chat knows.
Yeah, and just add a couple more things because everyone pretty much said what needed to be said about the whole KD situation. I think for me it's more like with KD, if you're gonna make a trade for a player that is 37, about to be 37 years old, a player as great as KD, where he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, he can still get buckets at this level and things of that nature. I think that has to be a move where for a fact that if you bring in KD, it's a definite championship that's gonna come to your team for doing so. And with KD's salary at the moment, the Knicks are gonna have to give up a lot of pieces to get him. So you have to look at it from this standpoint. If we're gonna gut the team and give away valuable pieces to bring KD in, do we still have enough afterwards to where we can actually win a championship with KD on the roster? And if you're talking about guys like OG, Mikal, Hart, etc., going the other way to bring in KD, that's not a championship roster. You're still gonna need more on top of that to get yourself there. So from that standpoint, then on top of that, like Fritz said, if you're gonna have to pay this man $60 million extension on top of that, and the guy's already 37 years old, it doesn't really make sense from a financial standpoint as well. So just the fact that the team would not be complete if you make that move for KD is more than reason enough to be like, you know what? We can't make that trade. But I do think there's mutual interest from the standpoint of like, KD's a great player. Like what team is not going to be interested in a player as great as KD? Of course you're going to be interested. Of course you're going to inquire about it because you're like, if we can add this player at a reasonable price, it may be worth it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, just because you're interested doesn't mean that you're going to jump on it.
I just read and verified it was Shams that said I can't remember what show he was on, Pat McAfee or something. He said that the Knicks made the offer at the deadline for KD. If you think about last year, before Mikal Bridges really got turned on in the second half of the season, but before Josh Hart's defense really slipped, and before Mitchell Robinson had returned to the court, you can imagine it was some combination of those three players that were combined salaries for the potential to bring Durant in to be paired with Cat, OG, and Brunson. I think that's very, very likely that was the trade with some combination of those three, maybe some additional assets, some swaps. And I'm glad that didn't happen because now we would be having a conversation about, damn it, we got to win before KD is completely useless in the starting lineup and still eat up our cap.
That's what's up. Good on the spot, sleuthingly. All right, doing your Googles.
No, I called my clutch points.
Oh, okay.
I had to do the
Man, they were all sorts of hours. That's what's up. Okay.
First sources.
Dedicated to the
first sources.
All right, yo. Like I've talked about everything I want to talk about. Ryan G, I don't know if you have any bruh picks or something. I don't know. You be having one in the
I
tuck.
mean, we already discussed the bro pick. I mean, Austin Rivers. I mean, my man sound like a damn bitter ex talking about the damn Knicks, and my guy ain't do nothing in the Knicks uniform talking about do right by me, do right by a guy that averaged 7.3 points per game, 2.2 rebounds, 2 assists per game, shot 43% from the field. I'm supposed to do right by a guy that's putting up those kind of numbers? F out of here, man.
Bruh.
This like, come on.
Hell yeah. Ryan G's bat, baby.
Yeah, I don't know. F out of here. I mean, we did right by Obi Toppin
Yeah, we did.
Man.
and Sims. All right, moving on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, all right, yo, that's the show. Thank you guys for watching. Let's get to it. Yo, Fritz, Mr. NBA Economy, let them know where they can find you, man, and plug your joint in the chat too. Doing a good job over there, man. Shout out to Fritz.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so always Fritz handles on Twitter. Also I have a new handle for Twitter for just the NBA Economy. Always check out the YouTube. Actually, I have a draft show tomorrow, so that should be interesting. But yeah, a lot of content is coming out.
Sick.
All right. Ryan G, let them know you can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at RyanGKOT. You could also find me on Instagram at Sir G is chilling.
Sir G is chilling.
That's SIR. G is CHILLIN. And I was kind of watching the chat tonight. I just want to say this before we go. I was kind of watching the chat tonight, and there was this guy. I forgot his name, but he said, Ryan G, you fell off, bruh. And I just want to tell that guy, thank you for your kind words, good sir. Because of that, I'm going to be much better on the podcast. It has inspired me to be a better podcaster and co-host. So thank you for those kind words, good sir. I will make sure I'll give 150% performances from here on out.
All right. Angry Ryan, I always tell you, Angry Ryan G is the best Ryan G.
It is. Hell yeah.
I told
Hell
Ryan
yeah.
back in the day, I used to piss Ryan off on purpose back in the day. Because he's mad, he's so good. Yeah.
My dad, when I tell my dad, hey, I'm pie tonight, and he's like, oh, is Ryan G on the show? And I'm like, no. He's like, oh, I'll see if I can make time. If I say, yes, Ryan G's on the show, then he's texting me after the pod saying, great points, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I told you before, I would say, hey, Dan, Ryan G's my dad's favorite co-host on KOT. Which says a lot about both me and him.
Shout out to Ryan G.
Julie's pops.
Yeah. My pops loves you, Ryan.
Yo, Lee, let her know where they can find you, man.
On Twitter at _Leas Thibodeau, LEEESCOBEDL. Been churning it out with the Bleacher Report articles. They've been let me have a fun time with my rankings. Not journalism. It's just like trash, like filler stuff where I'm able to rank the best undrafted players, the best finals resumes. These are the things I think about when I'm on my patio porch, smoking a J, and just talking about NBA. So it's been really fun to both think about it and then write about it and get paid about it. It's pretty fun. And the traffic's been crazy on those articles too. But I do want to give a PSA. This ain't really for the old heads, because anyone who's over the age of 30 has probably watched a solid amount of ball in their life. But the young kids, man, I know this isn't like big city finals. You got two small markets. This has been the best finals of maybe the last 10 years. It's been a fantastic back and forth. It's very, very competitive, and you will learn a lot watching these two coaches execute offensively and defensively. The adjustments that both teams have made, the adjustments that both coaches have been made for really high level elite basketball. There is a lot. These are not two teams playing a bunch of ISO. These are teams that move the ball. They do a lot of cutting. They do a lot of off-ball screen setting. If you want to expand your knowledge and be able to see things clearer and more in depth, please watch this finals, because the way that OKC's been switching, or the way that Indiana plays the gaps, you can learn a lot and expand your mind and awareness when you watch the NBA, because you're watching two of the best offense teams in the last 10, 15 years. So that's my little PSA and soapbox. As an unk myself, I'm trying to tell the kids, tune in, don't tune out. And yeah, let's hit these numbers up on the finals so that, there's more emphasis put on NBA writing and coverage, so we don't have this cesspool of journalism that's currently stinking up these net streets.
Well said, Lee. Well said. We got a super chat, though. Hold on. We got a super chat from Silk Sutton. It's actually, this might be an NBA economy question. It says, hey, panel, on two-way contracts, they're not 2 years anymore. Why are 3 two-way players, Watson, Beauchamp, McCullough, are restricted free agents? Did rules change with CBA?
It's
Okay, so with the 2A, you have to sign a player up for 2A every year. So like you don't just roll 1 year into the next. Like I think a few years ago it was like they're just automatically there. I know who won't be. Beauchamp will not be a 2A player. Because he's no longer on a rookie contract. And Watson, let me see. Did we draft? Where did Watson come from? Did we draft him? I'm thinking of McCullough. Oh, McCullough. He can be on a 2A, but you never know if they just want to sign him. So that's up to the Knicks. And I think Watson's the one who came from Boston.
Right at the deadline, right? You mean the deadline?
Yeah, I don't think he's eligible anymore.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't think he's eligible anymore. So, but he could be signed as just like a regular player.
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Fritz, for clearing that up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and thank you for the $4.99 super chat, man. Really, man, it's really helpful to have a freaking CBA guy on the team. I don't know, it's freaking crazy. All right.
Oh, and his takes are been fire, bro. Fritz, you're doing a fantastic job,
Hell
man.
yeah.
Growing as an analyst, I'm real proud of
Thanks.
you, dude.
Man.
Really proud of you.
I did not know when we talked, 5 years ago, that this would be the future, but hey, man.
My man.
You be here now. All right, yo. Shout out to KLT. Follow us at the KLT Show on Twitter, the Knick of Time Show on Instagram, and the Knick of Time Show on Facebook as well. Also, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Also, check out the new Substack, man, ran by Lee. You definitely want to be there. He wrote an article about Jason Kidd, about why we dodged the bullet, that he's not here. And as you heard, he's working on some Q&A articles from some insiders to get some information on the coaching candidates. So if you want the inside information about some coaching candidates, follow that Substack, all right? And subscribe. All right, cool. Also, shout out to Ron, man. Shout out to Don from Still Knicks fans.
Hell yeah.
It says, thanks for letting me borrow Fritz sometimes, KOT. Yeah, man, Fritz out here putting in that work, man.
Yeah, we went into free agency over Saturday, so we kind of went over what I went over with you guys.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Keep doing your thing, man. You hit different shows, man. That's how people start to see you like, oh yeah, you dope. You definitely do your rounds, bro. Do your rounds. All right, yo. That is the show. Thank you guys for watching. I enjoyed the show. If you enjoyed the show, man, just hit that like, subscribe, and share. And we'll be back. We'll be just back talking Knicks basketball. Also, Lee too. Needs to probably reach out for the draft. I probably need to do a draft thing for the 50th pick. That might be reach out to his name. But that is the show, guys.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. And as always,
shout out the World Wide West. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess.
It's a mess out here in these Knicks streets. That's the show. We out of here.
York, New York, big city of dreams.